for the record.
You've found Adventitious, where a dad and his two sons take on the world's problems one podcast at a time. Hey, welcome to Adventitious. This is Wonko.
This is Ford.
And I'm Safod.
What were you saying, Ford?
Nothing. Oh, I was talking about Suicide Squad.
Oh, except we got to deal with a couple of things first. First off, before we saw that, we saw Jason Bourne.
Oh, yeah.
Let's talk about it really quick. We didn't get a podcast in, but what was your take?
I think they did a good job of changing the Bourne universe, like Bourne story, to be able to continue it, because it was kind of starting to get to the point where he knew a lot of stuff. And by doing it where he learns everything about himself, and now he's going into, like, actually... spoiler alert. Now he's actually, like, doing stuff. I'll say that, so it's not too much of a
Just
spoiler.
assume all of ours are spoiler casts, because we're not even going to try and hide spoilers. So.
Now, we could put a little annotation that'll jump to after we've talked about the movie with the spoilers.
Nah. Anyway, it's funny. I liked it. I don't think it was the strongest of the Bourne movies. I think it
still felt Bourne, though.
It felt Bourne, but it felt predictable. I don't know that it was as intense as the other Bourne movies were.
Yeah. There are plenty of other spy movies that I would have rather seen.
You serious?
Yeah.
I love the Bourne. Even this one I loved.
I think it was a worthy addition to the Bourne universe. I don't think it was the best one. Yeah,
it's not like I didn't like it. It just wasn't the greatest spy movie in the world. So, now that we're done with there, let's move on to Suicide Squad.
Which we actually just came from that. We watched that this evening. Go ahead, guys.
I loved it. Like, I'm not a huge DC fan, but with how dark the new DC movies are getting, like, DC movies in general have kind of been pretty dark, but like just the new feel of the DC movies that they have now I really, really like it. Like Batman versus Superman, I didn't like it as much as I loved Suicide Squad, but yeah, Suicide Squad it's a worthy movie. Just don't get too attached to characters, because it's a Suicide Squad.
Okay, Zaphod?
It was a good movie. I think DC's, their cinematic universe is, or as they call it, the extended universe, is still kind of evolving. It's still kind of in its infant stage right now of like the modern extent of their cinematic adventures. So it's kind of hard to compare it to Marvel, where it's at right now, because they've had a lot more experience in it lately, and so personally, I think Marvel does a better job with their movies right now, but I think DC is still working it out, and I think they could go places with it.
So I think that the reviewers were stupid.
Yeah.
I think it's a good movie. I think it had a good story. Could it have been stronger? Yes. It's interesting because most of the complaints I found myself having were really more, these guys are all the bad guys. They're not heroes. They're anti-heroes. And
they're being a little too much hero-y.
In some ways, yeah. I mean, Will Smith's character, I think, had a good arc of coming around. I mean, he is a hero at heart.
He had a reason to become the hero.
That's kind of what an anti-hero is, though. They have a reason to be the hero. They don't just do it out of good-heartedness.
Yeah, but I think Will Smith's character kind of inherent. He and Deadshot, to me, shows he wanted. I think at his core, he would have been a hero, given a slightly different set of circumstances. And this might be his opportunity to be it. It's interesting, though. I think I've kind of... The difference between this and the Marvel movies Marvel is more slick and technology oriented. Their characters are. They kind of remind me.
Turned into that.
They kind of remind me more of the Matrix, in the sense that it's. I think music. The Marvel is more like electronica, where DC is more gangster and hip hop.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's something maybe the reviewers didn't take into account, because I think there's a real.
That makes a lot of sense, actually. Yeah, they're looking at it as the superhero genre and not the separate. To be honest, the superhero genre has even comparing X-Men to the regular the Avengers and stuff, it's so much different, and it's just the style of it. I mean, it's hard to compare other superhero movies to other superhero movies.
Even the fighting styles and things. Now, some of that's the director. Some of that's. I mean, there's a lot of things that go into that.
But it's still the style.
You mentioning about music, that actually kind of makes a lot of sense, because a lot of the friends that I have that prefer DC listen to more of the rap type music, and the ones who prefer Marvel listen to more like the techno and the EDM type.
You see,
music.
I listen to a mix of them, so it's
but you're whack.
You listen to 80s music,
and
you're
good stuff.
Because that's when music was good. I mean, come on. Music died in the 90s. Let's be serious.
Jacob Sartorius, you listening? Do you even know who Jacob Sartorius?
Not a clue.
Don't ever mention his name again.
Anyway, I thought it was really an interesting take on the characters. I liked the Joker. I think it was a really good twist. Mm-hmm. I think it gives them an opportunity to draw him in a different way going forward. Harley Quinn just knocked it out of the park.
I know. Yeah. She plays the crazy girl so perfect.
She's like the crazy girl you want to bring home to mama.
Whoa. PG? But
well, that's PG.
It's, she played it so perfect, though.
Dad could have gone a lot of other places with that.
True.
That was probably the most PG of the options.
True.
Anyway.
I liked what's Cara Delevingne's character. I like the witch. The way that they did it was kind of interesting.
I will say this though, when she was up there on the stage doing her little dance thing, it was
that was weird.
That was weird.
Yeah, okay, that's not freaky. That's just freaky.
The rest of it was good though. That was that was
like freaking, then freaky. Really? That's supposed to be scary?
Waving your hands around.
Yeah.
Ooh, I'm a ghost.
Ooh. Yeah. I mean, I can see where they got that the.
She's she's only been in one other movie.
Yeah. There have been a lot of reviews that have said that the villain was weak. I don't know that I agree with that. I mean,
technically they're all villains.
Well, that's true too. I think she gave them a run for their money and could have just as easily have won had circumstances been different. So I think to call her weak isn't accurate, but I do think that if you're saying she was weak in that she wasn't a great character, I think I can roll with that.
Yeah, in parts. I mean, the theory of it, of the witch, was kind of cool. But...
Okay, one other thing that I noticed that kind of bothered me about it. You had these other characters, and they went through and they did kind of the dossier thing about characters.
Then they didn't do the rest of it. Yeah.
And it's okay, first off, why didn't you do Slipknot? Mm-hmm. There was no connection to him. You kill him.
He was there and died.
Yeah.
That's all that happened.
Everybody who I've
That's one
heard
thing
hated
I didn't notice this until after. They did the thing where they show the character to all of the characters that like actually were the big characters in the movie, and then they just left the other ones.
Yeah, I think they would have done better to have included Slipknot in kind of the beginning.
I mean, they could have cut it out because of time constraints.
I'm guessing that's what happened, but I think there was no connection to him, and so why did you care that his head just got blown off?
Yeah.
And who is he? Okay, so the guy can tie knots and climb things. Woo!
That's a pretty nice square knot you got there.
Oh, no, not a half hitch.
I liked the when the guy had the fire dude. What's his name?
El Diablo.
Yeah, El Diablo. When the Australian, gosh, I don't remember any DC names besides Harley Quinn and Deadshot.
Boomerang.
But yeah, that guy when he walks up to El Diablo and is like pulls his lighter out and is like, fire.
Yeah, that was funny.
He's just such a jerk to everybody. I love it.
Yeah.
Well, so was that original guard in the beginning, and then they all get released, and he's just like,
why didn't that guy get capped?
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
I wish he did.
I mean, that should have been one of those long shots where, Deadshot's there and turns around and just lets off a shot randomly into the air, and it just takes him out.
Whoops!
Ricocheted
off the target that he was shooting at. No, you could have done it.
Just turn around and what looked like a random shot, you follow it, and it just takes that guy out. Miles and miles and miles away. It would have been nice because he was a dork. Mm-hmm. That guy, yeah, I didn't like him.
Has some toenails. What's this? And he like gives him the food, and he's like has some toenails and
Rapapoo.
And that just
all
like
the stuff
ramen.
that growing man. That's another topic for another day.
They actually serve a similar all-inclusive loaf in super max prisons. So
they can't have the risk of them turning their macaroni and cheese into a lockpick.
Gee.
All that kind of stuff.
Just let it dry out.
No, you use crackers and carefully break
Hey.
it. Dad, I'm sorry.
You shouldn't use people's bones to pick locks.
That's a terrible thing to do, JT.
Let's change the subject from racism.
All right, so we went to scout camp this weekend.
Yeah. Back to where we were on vacation a couple weeks ago.
Yeah. Only we actually got in the lake. I mean, me and we got in the lake, but somebody didn't.
I don't need to get in the water.
You just can.
I'm fine just the way I am. Anyway, we did play Airsoft.
That was a bit of a challenge because somebody didn't know how to cross a barbed wire fence.
Okay, no. I will explain this again. My team, the one person on my team was kind of. He thought.
No,
he knew,
don't blame him.
No, I'm not blaming.
One of your team members was able to get
ran off into the bathroom and just left.
One of your team members was able to cross the fence
up because I helped him over it. I lifted him over it. He wouldn't. After I lifted him over it, I thought of going in between the barbed wire.
Okay, so here's what happened. We were on
the part where it was really
Zaphod and I and another compatriot we're in a field. We make it through the fence, and we're in the field for an hour before these guys finally show their faces. Yeah, we're just leapfrogging around in the dark, thinking, "Oh, they're coming," and these guys didn't even make it over the fence. I mean, it's like, seriously.
I took 2 of you out though, so
yeah, and then you cheated.
Yeah.
Okay. I flipped the safety switch way quickly and then too far and full autoed.
Yeah. Anyway, so we had fun.
I tried to use it in bursts with full auto and then ended up clicking.
You tried to have it on full auto and not have us know you had it on full auto, and you got caught.
Mm-mm.
Yeah, careful playing Airsoft with Ford. All right. So what other topics do we have for this evening?
We got school coming up in a couple weeks.
Change the subject now.
Joy.
I don't want to think about it until the day before when I look at the date and go, oh, school's tomorrow!
And then you don't have any of your supplies ready or anything?
All I need is a pencil and a backpack. And I have
And
those.
everything else the teacher tells you to get?
You don't get that until you get the slips.
Yeah, but you know what they're going to tell you to get.
No,
It's the same thing every year.
it's not.
Yeah, it is.
It's not.
A book. A notepad book.
I've had a teacher ask me to go and get specific colors of Sharpies and highlighters.
There
And
are
then
some
a
special...
specific kind of book
There
that's
are
like...
some specialty items, but usually it's pretty much just the same list.
Yeah. So why do you have to get them the day before school gets in?
I'm not saying that. I'm just
When
saying
you can
get
just
it during
get
the
them
back
when
to
you're
school
getting the other
sales.
stuff.
Oh, this is fun. Enjoy school while you can, boys. Enjoy school while you can, because it does tend to get a little harder as life goes on, and you aren't as worried about pens and pads. And you don't get a whole summer off either. So,
Well,
where are
in
you on...
college? You don't have to take the summer semester.
Yeah, not many people don't, though.
You sure?
That's
'Cause-
why it's kind of a ghost campus. So where are you guys on Pokemon?
Level
I've
16.
kind of started not liking the game as much anymore. Like, I still play it just to play it, but, like... And no, it is not... I see your little smirk. It's not
What?
because you're higher level than me. It's just
I
not
didn't
as
say
fun
anything.
anymore. It's... Mobile games, for some reason, go by... Like, my interest for them goes by faster than desktop game, like PC games.
They can
console
generally
games.
include less in a mobile game, but this is still like a work in progress. They're
Yeah,
still adding
so
features
When they add more
and
features,
working the quirks out.
it will probably like when they add trading, it will probably pique my interest again. And
What about the legendaries?
we'll probably I've been playing Fallout Shelter a lot. Fallout Shelter.
Okay, so we haven't answered the question at hand.
I'm level 19.
I did answer that question.
Ford is 19,
I'm 16.
Zaphod's 16,
Almost 17.
Wonko's 20,
No.
about halfway to 21. So you're playing Fallout Shelter. I actually saw that.
In an article or something.
What was it I was watching? Might have been an article. I think it was a video, but it was talking about Fallout Shelter. It sounded interesting. What is it?
So it's a game that's based in the same universe as the Fallout PC. Hold on, I'm getting attacked. I'll just leave it for my OP characters to go destroy them. Anyway,
Could you hear my eyes roll on that one?
it's based out of the Fallout universe, so it's the same universe as all of the other Fallouts, like Fallout 4 and stuff, and more the concept of it. I think it's actually the same universe as Fallout 4. Fallout. I played a little bit of Fallout New Vegas, so I get the concept of the PC games. But it's basically it's a nuclear apocalypse, and you make a shelter that you're running the shelter that they kind of hunker down in, and you are trying to survive. And I have failed many times over. I have ended up having my entire place get wiped out by disease or by sickness and like radiation poisoning. I've had my base, every single person get killed by rats, which are mutated into these crazy creatures.
How does that work?
Radiation turns the rats into really, really crazy creatures, and there's humans that have been turned into it.
See, I'd like to see one of those games where it was actually kind of realistic. You had to take your iodine tablets to keep your thyroid from absorbing all the radioactive iodine.
There is. Well, it's not like mandatory. It's just you have radiation. You can get radiation poisoning, and then you have to take they call them radaways, and it's basically an iodine, a package of iodine tablets, but it's not mandatory that you take them until you start getting radiation poisoning, and that starts to kill you. So that's not good.
Yeah, I think there's enough in the whole end of the world scenario. You don't need zombies and mutant animals to make that work.
Well,
between disease and famine and destruction and all of that, I think you could make a pretty compelling storyline and game without having to throw in mutant animals and zombies.
But that makes it more interesting.
Yeah, less useful.
Makes it so they have to do less research on the medical and the diseases and stuff, because the game creators are nerds and all nerds are lazy. That's why they do stuff like that.
I don't know. I think the nerds at MIT might
they probably
might argue against that.
No, they're still lazy.
Well, they figure out the simplest, the shortest way to get from point A to point B. They just will use math to figure it out.
Yeah, mathematicians are lazy. That's why they don't put ones in front of X's.
Yeah. This was a whole argument that we had.
Don't bring up math around me, please. It's a touchy subject.
Okay. So have either of you been watching the Olympics down in Rio?
Very little. I just can't get excited.
If anybody's been browsing Reddit, they've probably seen the bingo boards that have been going around. People have been making Olympic bingo, and every time something bad happens, there's a slot in it that probably has what happened, and you just cross it out. And
I think tonight the diving pools turned green.
That was one of them. On one of them was swimming in
it actually happened.
Bad water.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Olympic divers splash into green pool.
Oh, they.
But it's safe. It's perfectly safe. The Olympic swimmers don't have any. They're not in any danger.
Is that what the face of what's his name? American swimmer. They did a really. What's his name? He did a really pissed off face. I can't remember.
Oh, no, that wasn't it.
The pool right next to it was fine, too.
You're talking about Phelps, and he was actually looking at one of the other competitors when he made that face. He kind of had that face? Dark Jedi look.
He wasn't looking at them. The other dude was just standing in front of him, taunting him because he beat him by like 100th of a second the time before. No, it was South African. But the one guy, he was just Phelps was just trying to do everything he could not to look at him. He was just looking away while the other dude was airboxing and dancing in front of him, just taunting him.
That drives me insane when people are poor sports in the Olympics.
And
they do not deserve to be in the Olympics.
Oh, he has every right to celebrate, though.
Rub it in his face,
it was before the race even happened, in the waiting room. But then during the race, at the start, he was just staring at Phelps the entire time. And while he was swimming, he would stick his head up and look at Phelps. Mid-swim.
Well, how do you even compete if you're doing that?
I don't even know.
Yeah. If anybody heard about the girl who won the sharpshooting thing?
Yeah, that whole thing drives me nuts. You know what? Celebrate for the American who just won a gold and get the politics out of it. The whole point of the Olympics is to not be political. And you want to start playing the Second Amendment card and making comments about gun control and things. That isn't the place.
These things like, well, of course the American would win at accurate shooting. I mean, with all the stuff that's been going on there, all those shootings and stuff.
Now, that said, an American should win that because, quite frankly,
America.
Yeah.
But still, it's...
Back to the green pool thing. The pool right next to it that they were using for water polo was just completely fine. Just the one
So there was a
pool.
contrast. Oh.
The one pool turned dark green for some reason. They don't even know why.
It's because the water's really bad there. The outdoor swimming stuff. I read something about the outdoor swimming stuff and how like
they were asked not to put their face in the water
because the water's nasty.
I just think I'm sorry. You're going to do a long distance open water swimming and not put your face in the water. Gee, I'm going to doggy paddle all the way to the other side. Seriously?
Yeah. There's a lot of stuff that Rio's doing ridiculous.
Well, the water's unsafe for them to do that.
Yeah,
that's the
they
issue.
should be. There's stuff that they could do, though. There's stuff they could do. They could make an artificial one.
But then it's not open water swimming.
What kind of is? They could make an artificial river.
That's like saying a pool's kind of open water
Taylor?
swimming. That's what it is.
Let's Google where they did the Sandy, or like the other the
Salt
the
Lake
other
Olympics?
ones, the Salt Lake and like the
you know what? They didn't swim in the Salt Lake Olympics. That's called the Winter Olympics. The rivers were frozen.
That was kind of a reverse mic drop on that one.
I didn't inhale the mic.
No, you just make the other person drop the mic.
Yeah, the other Summer Olympics.
London,
yeah, there we go. Let's Google what they did for the swimming.
The big river down the middle of the city.
Okay, yeah.
The Thames? Yeah, I think they may have done rowing in that, but I don't think they were swimming in the Thames.
That's a nasty.
And GT, they couldn't just make an artificial thing for the open water swimming, because it's a triathlon where they swim, then they bike, then they run. So the river's placed where the bikes and the stuff are. It would be very difficult for them to do an indoor pool thing for a triathlon.
Another thing that's kind of sketchy, they did. So, if you follow the road over to where all the events are, in the entire poor section of the country, there's like really tall walls covering it, and then it goes clear the second it hits a little bit more like of a nicer area.
Would you want to show off your country's scum?
Whoa!
I'm not talking about the
that's
people.
Most of the country. That's the problem. They're kind of having some problems, but. Yeah.
So, anyway, the U.S. is winning the Olympics right now. Got more of each medal than everybody else.
Merca!
Got 9 gold, 8 silver, and 9 bronze.
And the world is as it should be.
Deep thoughts.
All right, I'm going to change the topic here on a couple of articles I saw. This is going into some geek talk here. So it's interesting. I was reading a couple of different articles, one of which was so basically I think it was in Jackson, Wyoming, in Jackson Hole. Cars would park at this specific block in town, and the key fob remotes would stop working, so they couldn't get back in their car, and the cars were dead. And they couldn't figure out what it was. And I mean, literally, they would have to tow the cars. They'd tow it like a block or two away, and all of a sudden the key fob would work, and ta-da!
There must have been a metal deposit somewhere.
So they call in the ARRL, which is the American Radio Relay League. They're the ham radio guys.
I thought that was us.
That is us. Yes, we are ham radio guys as well. And they brought in some gear to test for signals, and what they found was there was a neon transformer that was putting out just a massive signal right in that frequency range that those key fobs use, and it was completely overwhelming those. So it just swamped them to the point that they wouldn't function in the car. And so you couldn't get into cars, you couldn't start your cars, you couldn't do anything with them.
That's so weird.
So apparently they've said, well, if somebody has a problem, we'll turn off the neon sign, which technically they should be swapping it out, because the law says you can't interfere with other electronics. But anyway, I thought that was really interesting that you go get it towed and a block later, all of a sudden everything works fine. So that was kind of on a related note. There was another article I was reading about using software-defined radio. One of the big issues that's happening is guys are setting up, hackers are setting up these cell towers that are fake cell towers.
So they go onto the frequency of the cell tower and basically sniff?
Well, what they'll do is, because you're encrypted to the cell tower, but then it decrypts once it gets to the cell tower and goes into the network, they're able to then pass it on, so you don't even know that you're at a fake cell tower, but they can eavesdrop in on all of your conversations, they can read all your texts, they can read all the data coming down, everything. And the Black Hat conference, there's almost always at least one fake cell tower that kind of pops up. Mm-hmm. I think this year there was one that was at 2G. They don't have any that usually that are 3G or LTE, because the 2G has been known to be unsecure for a long time. But anyway, they found one that they think was actually a fake cell tower at Black Hat just a little while ago. But one of the things that they were talking about on this article was actually using software-defined radio and a GPS to map the cell signal strength in the area and be able to find rogue cell sites doing mm-hmm. that, which I think would be kind of an interesting project. I think they were using a Raspberry Pi, and a GSM module, and they had a GPS module as well, but I think you could just use a GPS hooked up to it via USB. Yeah. So anyway, so that may be a project we mess around with as the next few weeks go on. Have you guys had anything else pop up on your radar? I'm still panicked that Trump and Hillary are the only options.
Well, there's the third-party candidates, but they won't win.
All the candidates are... all of the potential candidates for Democrat and Republican, I hated. Like, there was no good option. But
I'm scared.
Yeah, the problem is, if we don't get a good president within this term or the next term, there's probably not going to be an easy way for us to turn it back around.
The last thing I want is Hillary to have to get to choose the Supreme Court justice. And the only thing I want less than that is Donald Trump to have his finger on the nuclear button.
Yeah. Well, I'm just scrolling through right here on my Instagram feed trying to find a news picture, and there's a picture. Hillary, the father of an Orlando shooter, was standing like right next to Clinton in one of her rallies, and it's like apparently somebody was just looking at the picture and was like, "Wait, that's the same person." It's kind of it could mean something. It could just be a weird coincidence, but
I don't know. I don't want to get into politics on this, but I think we're in a really dire situation. It spooks me. Mm-hmm. I'm scared where it's going, and I hope we find a way through this landmine ridden land that's before us at the time, because I'm scared, because I think the economy's just on the edge, and you get the wrong president in there and it could become a real disaster.
I completely agree. And let's just change it from political, because I don't want to.
Yeah. Okay, here's an article that I was looking at earlier too. We'll change this. There's a Kickstarter that I'm not bidding on many Kickstarters, and I'll actually talk about a couple of others that I've done maybe in the future. But these people have put together this Codex Silenda. Essentially, it's laser cut wood, but to get to the pages, every part of the book, it's all puzzles and locks and ciphers and things. It's really cool.
Wait, do you have a picture of it?
Yeah. Let me.
I might know another thing that he's done that was made for one of the YouTubers I watch. Oh yeah, I think he's the one who made the one for a YouTuber I watch called Scam School, because they have a store and they had can't remember what they called it, but it was a box similar to that incorporated all the ciphers it's not quite like that. It's more of a box that you open that had like goodies inside, but it looks very similar.
It's a pretty cool project. Looks like they've got 1,499 backers. It's the Codex Silenda, the Book of Puzzles, by Brad Whitney on Kickstarter. I've done a couple of Kickstarters, and I've got one that was a classic failure, and two that have been home runs, or at least solid returns on them. We'll talk about those in another video here. I may even do a review of the products. But this one is really interesting. Just looking at the designs and how they've built this, it fascinates me. It's kind of like a wooden clockwork, but more of a puzzle than anything. So, all right. I think that's a good run for tonight. Have you guys got anything left to throw in before we shut this thing down? I would call that a no.
Yeah.
Hey, have a great one, everybody, and have an adventitious day.